Excellent. So welcome everybody. We are here for the next hour. Let me go ahead and kick off for everyone watching on replay. Hello, welcome. Thank you for catching this one up. Today we are talking about creating content that builds an online community. Super important. We all need to be building our audience. We all need to be creating that community now. So really important topic, and one that I'm pretty passionate about myself. As I said, we're here for the next hour. So, settle in, take notes. Remember, you will get a recording of this. And also, if you're interested, just, let me know and I can share the slide deck as well. So you can go back through this in your own time. There is a lot of stuff that we've got to get through. But as always, if you've been on any of my workshops or webinars or anything before, I do like to make this pretty interactive. So feel free to jump off mute at any time and just ask questions. I'd rather you do that than use the chat, because I may not see what you want to ask. So, feel free to bounce in and ask stuff related to specifically what you're doing in your business, because everyone has a slightly different business that they're building, and we want to make sure that we're making the content as accurate to what you're doing as opposed to anything else. Before we kick off, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on whose land we are gathered today. So wherever that may be, pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And if you would like to pop where you are zooming in from, the country, then feel free to do that. I am on the Eora Nation of the Gadigal people today in Sydney. So, feel free if you want to pop that into chat. Always nice to know country of where we're at today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Sheen. I'm known as the Digital Guide. I'm the author of The End of Technophobia, a practical guide to digitizing your business, winner of Australian Business Book of the Year and Best Technology Book 2021. I am the resident tech expert, for want of a better word, on Koshi's Business Builders. That's why I'm in Sydney. I'm getting ready to film the next season on Friday. I have done work with Microsoft, with Windows, with Intel, with the Australian Domain Authority. I was recognised as top 50 small business leader last year with Inside Small Business, and I am a certified practicing marketer with the Australian Marketing Institute, which is the highest recognition that our industry can receive in Australia. These days, I've been doing this since 1990, so I'm probably got genes that are older than some of you on the call, and that's okay. These days I'm mainly a speaker, presenter, writer, that type of thing. So I do a lot of commentary around digital marketing technology in small business. All right. If we can just make sure that you're on mute, and feel free to come off if you have any questions. But just in case, normally when I'm working from home, the dogs are likely to start barking, or, the leaf blower will start in the background. So just make sure that we're respectful of the noise of our own environments. So let's kick off. So the benefits of an online community. I love this quote from Dr. Maya Angelou, a big fan of her work. And if you're not familiar with her, she wrote a lot of books and did a lot of big things in her life. She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that's a really nice, overarching kind of sentiment to what I like to think about when we're talking about building online community. For me, it's about, how do you make those people feel? Why would they want to work with you? It's not, 9 times out of 10, it's not because of your brain. It's not because of, you can solve a particular problem, although that might be the tipping point. It's really because of the way that you make them feel and the way that you interact with them. People buy on personality. So they really do want to get to know the people behind your business. So if we keep that in mind as we go through. So some of the benefits, we can talk about online community provides support for our business. It gives us ideas. So we can always float through, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? If I did a workshop on this, would that be something that interests you? They give us referrals. Once somebody has spent money with you and they're part of your community, they're far more likely to spend money with you again, and they're far more likely to refer somebody into your community. So a really important thing to be remembering when we're building these communities is some of the benefits of having a commercial. People buy from you when they're part of your community. Recruitment, if you're looking for any team members for your business, it can come, and some of the best team members can come from inside your own community. They provide your business with protection. So, particularly in some of the online environments we see these days, where there's, some nasty trolls and things like that. If you have a community and someone that starts in at you, your community will come to your defense and they will shout down that person rather than you have to do anything about it. They give you a platform. So if you have a particular interest in, something bigger than your business, they will give you a platform on which to speak and to share that idea. And they also provide relevance. So without your community, you have no relevance really. So they allow you to keep that top of mind and keep that relevance to your brand and to your people. Yasmin, I just realized that you've just joined us. Hello, welcome. Can I just ask you to pop yourself on mute? And then as we go through, if you've got any questions, feel free to come off mute and ask away. Excellent. Your job is to educate and engage your audience without always needing to sell your products and services. So one of the big things that we see, and you may see this with your own brand, but you'll certainly recognize it with other people when you're online, it feels like they're always trying to sell. Buy my stuff. Hey, I've got this, I've got this product coming out. I've got this service. I've got this webinar. I've got this whatever. So it's not always about trying to sell something. You can just educate, you can share ideas, you can ask questions, you can collaborate. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is just that. Why do you want to build a community? This is a big question, and it's something that we all need to be thinking about before we're even worried about where does the content fit into this. Why do you want a community? What's your big reasoning? Here's some questions to ask yourself that will help you kind of identify what type of community you even are interested in building. What communities are you part of that you admire? What does your ideal community look like? Would they be highly engaged? Are they ones that, don't say much? Are they all professionals? Are they soccer mums? What type of community do you want to build? What does an ideal community member look like? Why would someone join your community? Goodness knows there's so much noise out there right now, and we're vying for people's attention. So why would I join your community? What's in it for me? What am I going to get from you to be part of your community? Are you willing to lead? Now, this is a really big one, because when you're building a community around your business or around your idea or around your brand, you're expected to lead that. People will look to you. So, what values, what ethics do you want to instill into your brand? Why am I going to follow you? Why, are you ready to step up and be the person that people look to? What values do you want your community to have? And a big one, have you been a member of a community that didn't survive? If you have, what did you learn? I have. I was part of a really big kind of business group that was going for a long while, and all of a sudden it hang on, I'm just going to hit stop share because I've just had a moment with my technology. There we go. It was a really engaged community. There was several thousand of us inside this Facebook group, and then the leadership of the business group kind of changed hands. One of the main people stepped out, someone else stepped in. The direction really changed, and then it started to fall apart. And now that community is still going, but it's far less engaged. It is often quite salesy. So it's, the interesting thing for me is should that have had a life? And we need to think about that. Do you want to build a community for a long term, for the next 10, 20 years, or is it just something that needs to be there for an event or for something that's coming up that then needs to be closed down? So I want you to be thinking about all of those questions as we go through, and as you're starting to work on your own community, it's a really good idea to just sit down and spend a bit of time thinking through each of those questions. And thinking through, what does that look like for the people that I want to join? So let's go through some of these and have a think about it as we're starting to look towards content, because the content of what we're building and where we're building it and who we're building it for is going to differ depending on our reasons for the community. So who is your ideal community? You can have a number of communities. I do. I've got a community on LinkedIn. I've got a community on Facebook, and the content is quite different. I've got a community where I'm speaking to small business owners directly like this. And I've got a community where I'm speaking to councils and government departments. And I've got a community where I'm speaking to corporates that will bring me on to work with small business audiences. And the things that I need to speak to them about and engage them with is quite different. The language is different. The places where they hang out are different. So you can have a number of different communities. You just need to know what each of them are going to look like in an ideal world. So one of the big mistakes that we see when it comes to creating content is that, there's an old saying in marketing, if you're talking to everybody, no one's listening. So it's being really specific about, okay, on LinkedIn, I'm speaking to decision makers of a medium to large size business. They work in HR. But on Facebook, I'm talking to, the mums of teenage kids, or on Instagram, I'm speaking to newborn mums, or whatever that looks like for your business. And we can, again, feel free to ask questions directly as we go through. But knowing what those communities look like is kind of it's the ticket to the game before you can even start thinking about, well, what sort of content do I need to be creating for them? Because you need to know who they are. What platforms are they on? So as I said, I've got a community on LinkedIn, which is very different content to the community that I've got on Facebook, which is very different content to, email newsletters that I send out to specific groups. So different people hang out on different platforms. The people that are highly engaged in TikTok are not highly engaged on LinkedIn. So again, it's knowing, who do we want to reach? Who are we trying to influence? What are their beliefs? What are their values? Where do they spend their time? Are you better reaching them on a podcast? Are you better creating video content? It's thinking all of that through about, their age, their demographics, their values, their interests, all of that type of stuff will go into, well, where should you be building your community? And should you be building a couple of communities on, say, LinkedIn and Facebook as an example, or TikTok and Instagram, or an email list? Once you kind of understand who the people are that you're trying to reach, influence, and engage, will help you understand the type of content and where you'll be reaching them. Who's your ideal community member? So each community will have an ideal member. So you need to clearly identify who that is and then create the persona to suit them. So again, if I talk about LinkedIn, when I'm sharing content on LinkedIn, I'm not talking to my small business owners like I am with you folks on the call today. I'm talking to, Department of Small Business. I'm talking to Telstra that have small business clients. And I'm wanting them to see the big problems that they can resolve, that they can influence for their small business community. So my language, my type of content I'm sharing, the time of day that I'm talking to them is all very different. On Facebook, I'm sharing stuff that's completely relevant for you folks that are on this call today, the stuff that impacts you. So I'm talking about the Optus breach. I'm talking about, the latest productivity tool that you might want to use that'll save you a bunch of time or save you some money, things that will influence and affect your life directly as a business owner, not somebody within a corporate kind of universe. So again, developing those personas and knowing, so on Facebook, for me, it's someone over 40 who is overwhelmed by technology, but knows that they need to get a better handle on it, so I can speak specifically to people that, grew up in the 80s, and I use a lot of pop culture references and things like that because they're my people. On LinkedIn, my language is a lot more kind of professional. So I know I'm talking to a small business ambassador or a director of sales or something like that. So again, being very, very clear on who it is we're speaking to and what they're trying to achieve. All right. Before we go into the 5 C's that help us create our content that builds community, let me just pause for a second and let me check in. Any questions on what we've gone through so far? Because getting the base of understanding, who our community is, where they hang out, all of those questions, that's really kind of, as I said, that's the ticket to the game before we even start talking about content. So any questions on any of that stuff before we move on to the actual content part? It's always such a quiet audience. I'm not sure if that means that everyone's just like, oh my God, there's so much I've got to think about already, or no. Okay, Ella, welcome. You've good timing. I've just taken the screen off to check. So good timing. We've just gone through the understanding who our community is and why we would want to build a community. And now we're going to get stuck into the content. So you've got—
Thanks, Tracy. And my apologies. Thanks, Sue, for sending me the link.
Excellent. Good on you, Sue. You build a seat.
You're a star.
Sue's part of my community, and now Sue's referring people left, right, and centre. So excellent. All right. Well, let's kick back off.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, shoot.
How do you find out what platforms? Is there a website or any other source of information where I could find out which platforms my targeted market are using?
Yeah, great question. What sort of business are you in? What are you building?
So I'm looking at providing legal services for the multicultural community in Cairns. It's quite general. So yeah, that's—
So what sort of legal services, like visa services, DV?
So I'm a generalist, so I do civil, criminal, and succession law, wills and probate.
Yeah.
So it would be a wide range of ages, looking at low income and probably migrants. So yeah, that's pretty much my audience.
Yep. And do you find that different ages are speaking to you about different things? So for example, if we're talking, probate or wills or estate planning or things like that, are they typically more kind of over 40 or?
Yeah, so wills and estates are generally boomers, and their children, Generation X, X's, and but I also wanted to target so provide community legal education for youth and Indigenous communities who are anti-wills because it's not part of their culture. It's more educational than the selling point.
Yeah, perfect. So some of that, if you're just starting out, there's some of that you need to make assumptions on. So when we're talking kind of over 40, you're pretty safe in saying that that's Facebook. If we're talking kind of 20s to 30s, pretty safe to say that's Instagram. And if we're talking professionals, pretty safe to say that's LinkedIn. Now, they're big generalizations, but they're generalizations for a reason. We've kind of seen those demographics over the years. Now, that's not to say that someone in their 40s isn't going to hang out on Instagram. And it's not to say someone in their 20s doesn't have a professional profile on LinkedIn, but as a generalization, they're kind of the rough numbers. The best way to find out is to ask them. So, as you're starting to approach the multicultural groups and perhaps, Cairns Indigenous communities and things, just say to them, where do you hang out? Like, where do you get your best traffic from? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Start stalking their pages online. And I use the word stalk in a nice way, but you know what I mean? Start following their pages online and just see where they're getting their best interaction and what types of content are working for them. You need to be part of their communities as well and seeing what's working for them. But always the easiest way to know for sure is to ask them. Yeah, that's a great question. Excellent. Any other questions before we move on to the content side of things? Nope. Okay, don't be shy. Don't be shy. All right. So now what I want to talk about is there's a few different things that we know just works when it comes to creating content that builds your community. And the first one I want to share with you is the 5 C's. Now, this is not my idea. This came to me from a very dear friend of mine, Andrew Griffiths, who's Australia's #1 small business author. And if you want to follow a really engaged community, check his out. He is the master really in Australia at building online small business communities. So he talks about create, curate, commentate, celebrate, and commercialise. Okay, so we're going to go through each of these individually, but they're the 5 big C's. And if you remember the 5 C's, you're going to go a long way to when you're thinking about your content, using things that are going to help you build. So create. Create simply means it's content that you've created from scratch. So you've written this blog, you've created this video, you've done this podcast. It's your content, it's your IP, it's your thoughts, it's your reasoning that you're putting on paper. Now, a lot of people think, or certainly a lot of my clients when I'm working with them, they think that everything they need to share has to be content that they've come up with. No. So a few reasons. One, it's exhausting to create content. No one's got that much time up their sleeve that they can be writing a blog every day or, creating a video every day or, just generating that much content. It's just exhausting. So really, about 1 in 5 pieces of content is something that you create. Otherwise, we're looking to share from other sources. So the next one is curate. And when we're curating content, what we're doing is we're finding stuff that's relevant to the community that you've read, that you've watched, that you've listened to, and then you're sharing it. So again, what this is doing is showing your community that you're plugged in to what it is that you're selling, what it is you're promoting, what it is that you're interested in. So from Cecilia's point of view, from a legal perspective, there might be a change to wills and probate in Queensland. So that's not something that she's written, but she's going to share that with her community because it's relevant to her community. There might be a change to the way that multicultural society have to deal with Centrelink. Share that to the community. Again, it's things that they need to be aware of or that you're aware of that that is going to be interested to them. So that's curating. Commentating is similar to curating, but we're adding our opinion. So now we've seen an article, we've read it, we've gone, that's really interesting, I'm going to share it, but now we're putting our Tracy around how we're viewing this. So only this morning I was listening to a podcast from Mia Farrow on No Filter. And she talks about how she got her ADHD diagnosis in her 40s. Now, that was deeply personal for me because I've recently got an ADHD diagnosis. So my community, a lot of the members in my community also have ADHD diagnoses, because you're 3 times more likely to be an entrepreneur if you have ADHD. So I know there's a lot of people in my community, because we talk about it, that have, so I could share that podcast and put my little story around it. Hey, it took me 18 months to get a diagnosis as well, and this is what I'm seeing. And, the thing about time really blew me away. So I can share that bit around there because I know that that's going to be relevant and it's going to connect with my community. When it comes to the Optus breach, I can share around that and say, hey, me too. I was caught up in that. I've had to go and get my driver's license changed. And here's some things that you can do to secure yourself on the web to make it a little bit more difficult for anyone who has managed to get your information. So again, it's thinking about, you're reading this stuff, you're watching this stuff, you're listening to this stuff all the time anyway. So you're just sharing it with your community to show them that you're plugged in, to show them that you're engaged in what it is that you are looking to connect with them on. So Sue, for you, we've talked about this, the Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff. As something comes out, hey, great new blog from Dr. Joe about this thing, here's what I see in Australia versus what's going on in the US. Or, I've recently been working with a cohort that are going through this type of issue. So you're finding the stuff because you're interested in it anyway. That's some of the common ground you have with your community. You're putting your spin on it and you're sharing it.
Tracy, with curating, can you kind of cut and paste from various articles and then reference at the bottom?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on where you're doing that. Typically, I find one idea allows you to go a bit deeper and just helps people stay focused. But if you were writing a longer blog or something like that, where you were using those, other articles to reinforce your point of view, then that would be a great use of, and in this article or on this website or blah, 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 a great way of referencing to strengthen your point. I do that quite a lot when I'm podcasting. I'll make reference to, or in workshops or things like that, I'll shout out to someone that, has done something. So yeah, if it's a social media post, I would probably stick to one point and reference that though. All right, celebrate. I love this one. This is celebrating members of your community. So it might be that, someone you're working with has just scored a new job. So, hey, shout out to Sue, who's just landed a new client after some work we did together, or your supplier, one of your suppliers might have just won an award. So shout out to, such and such for winning Australian Small Business Champion or whatever that looks like. But you're taking the time to recognise and celebrate members of your community. Some of my biggest engagement on my social media accounts is when I tag and celebrate somebody in my community. Recently one of my clients launched her book, and she sent me a copy. I went to a local garden, took a photo of myself holding the book and tagged her website where they could buy the book, and just made reference to it because I know the blood, sweat and tears she put into this for 18 months writing this book. And that post, for me, essentially went viral, which all that means is it got much higher engagement than I would normally see on my post. So that celebration thing is huge when it comes to to building that online community. Thanks, Jane. Jane's just saying she needs to pop out and come back in. Ella.
Yes, tagging. Can you, when you say you tag them, do you just highlight and then have, as you're talking about them, you just do a hashtag in your sentence type thing? Is that how you approach it, Tracy?
I do the little @ symbol and then type their name so it brings their page up, so they actually get notified that I've
like
tagged them.
inserted in your sentence, in your celebration sentence.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'll show
okay,
you
great.
that at the end, how
Yeah.
that looked
Yeah,
for the
sure.
person that
Yeah,
I tagged,
thanks.
so you can see. And the last one is commercialize. So this again is about 1 in 5. Now, when I mean commercialize, you know, this is your opportunity to sell what you do, but that may not be a buy my product. That might be, hey, I've got a webinar coming up, or you know, I've got a workshop coming up, or I'm about to appear on this podcast, or so it doesn't always have to be a spend money with me, but it can be, and it should be. You should still insert those opportunities. So typically what we see, and I'm guilty of this, everybody will feel comfortable doing one of those 5 things, and we will lean into that more than the others. And I'd be interested to know if anyone wants to share the C that they are the most comfortable in doing. For me, it was commentate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my challenge to you is, if you can identify which C that is, to write the other ones down and to really be thinking about, well, how else can I use these other C's? So if you're a commentate, how can I celebrate? How can I commercialize? And I can tell you the one that I always avoided was the commercialization. You know, there's something intrinsically built into us as Aussies that we don't like to, you know, blow our own trumpet. Yet if we don't, no one else is going to. So Sue's saying that curation for her is her comfort zone. So write the others down, and really, as you're starting to develop your content and you're thinking about, what am I going to post this week, or what am I going to talk about, make sure that you're covering off all of those C's. Okay, I just develop a little grid, and I'll show you how I do that a little later, but just to make sure that I'm hitting all of the C's. Okay, so the next thing, once we've got all those 5 things, the 5 C's, start thinking about some questions. Questions engage. We cannot help but answer a question if one's posed. Subconsciously, we have to come up with an answer. We have to yes or no. We have to. So, you know, if somebody asks you a question, you can't help but deliver an answer, even if it's just in your head. It's just the way we're wired. So using questions when we're trying to build an online community is a great way of developing content. What can I teach? So what have you got that you can teach that you can, you know, that you can use to build a community? What have I noticed? The list, we're going to go through these. How did I get to this? What's my sentiment on something? And what am I holding an opposing view of? Now, these came to me via another really good friend, Dante St. James, who is one of the lead trainers for Facebook in Australia. And he's identified that these are the things that will, in his words, hack the algorithm on social media and create a lot of interest. So the first one's, what can I teach? So what are you really comfortable teaching your community that won't give away all of your IP? Okay, so you don't want to give away the farm, but what are you really comfortable sharing that is going to add a lot of value to your community? So for me, I do, you know, once a month, I do a top 10 tech tips. It's 30 minutes, and I just go through 10 bits of software or apps or hacks that I found for that month. Now, that's not my IP. I'm reading about, I'm watching, I'm listening to this stuff day in, day out, and I'm just gathering, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I might give that a try. I might have a proper read of that. So I just, you know, take it in and share it out. It's not any of my IP. It's just I find it interesting, and the people that are joining the webinar might find one tool that month that they want to give it a go. It adds a lot of value to my community. It creates a lot of interest, a lot of engagement without me giving away any IP. So Cecilia is just saying, I prefer to create, but it's hard to be creative with law. Yep, and let's talk about that, Cecilia. Let's think about, you know, what you could be creating. it doesn't have to be that you have to rewrite laws. It might be that you just create a little Instagram video that's like, hey, I work with a lot of people that, you know, according to their culture, don't like to have wills. So did you know that here's, you know, one thing you can do today to make sure that your wishes will be honored if you pass away, and the family can, you know, do this thing. So that's still creating, that's still you doing something without having to rewrite laws or come up with really something that's really horrible and dry. So think about the things that you're frequently asked. They're frequently asked questions for a reason, and regurgitate them back to your community. The next one's, what have I noticed? So share a story about something you've noticed within your industry. It's your opportunity to show your thought leadership. So again, for Cecilia, just that fact that you said about the wills and the multicultural, I didn't know that. So I find that really interesting, right? So that could easily be, you know, what I've noticed. I've noticed working with, and I don't know which community it is, so forgive me, but let's say it's just come to me, the Samoan. I work with the Samoan community and they don't like having wills. Did you know that you don't need to have a will legally in Australia for your wishes to be honoured when a loved one passes on? You know, these are some of the ways that we can still respect our multicultural communities within, you know, Cairns without blah, blah, blah. You know, you can, so I've noticed this. It's not something I noticed because I'm outside of what it is that you do day in and day out. But for you, you're like, oh, everyone knows that. No, everyone doesn't. It's something that you've recognized. It's something that you've identified. The list. We love a good list. The 5 things, the 3 reasons, the 7 ways. The one thing you will notice with all of the list articles, blogs, videos, they're always odd numbers, okay? Unless you get to 10, the 10 things. So 3, 5, 7, 9, big numbers. Again, just something, Sue might have a better reason, understanding of this, but there's something to do with our neuropsychology around odd numbers. Ella?
No, I don't.
Quick question, why 10? Why is 10 okay to be even?
Yeah, good question. Don't really know, but 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 11. They're kind of the really big ones. But 10, I think, is just that kind of big, you know, the 10 commandments, the 10.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. You've answered a very important question that I've been mulling in my mind for a long time because I've got 10 of something. Thank you.
Excellent. But start flicking through, you know, one of the best ways when you're starting to think about creating this content and building your community, one of the biggest pieces of advice when you go through, you know, Woolies or Coles or Aldi or wherever you shop, pick up the magazines and just flick through them and start to look at what they use for headlines, okay? Because the headlines grab your attention for a reason. Think about, how can I manipulate that headline for my own business? So without, you know, without getting really clickbaity, you don't have to do the 5 things I never knew about workplace relations and you would never guess number 3. You know, you don't have to go the whole clickbaity thing, but we love a good listicle. So again, they get a lot of click through. You can even break that down for your social media. So over the next 5 days, I'm going to be sharing 5 things that I see. Today's number 1. Here we go. You know, developing a couple of nice little social media templates that you can share. So we love a good list. How did I get to this? So, you know, your community loves to know how you achieved an outcome. So start with the problem, start with the outcome, and then walk them through the steps that it took to solve the problem, to solve the, so Sue, with you, you know, recently worked with a community or a business that was going through transformation. They were a disconnected group of whatever. Here's how we got to cohesion and you know, and what that looked
doesn't
like.
have to be about you, how I got here, but
No, that
clients.
community, the clients. So again, it kind of crosses over with that celebration. You know, we had a big win with a client. You know, they had 40% attrition over the last 12 months, and we came in and identified that these were the reasons, but you're giving the story around, you know, how they turned it around. Remember that think about any good story, and there's a great book called Building a Story Brand, if anyone's a reader, written by a guy called Donald Miller out of the US. And he reminds us about the story arc, you know, what we're looking for when we watch a movie or when we read a good book. And it's always that we're the guide. You know, our client is the hero, our community is the hero. So if you think of Star Wars, you know, Luke is the hero, Yoda and Obi-Wan are the guides. They help Luke get where he's meant to go. So they come in, there's always a bit of a problem, and then, you know, at the end, good wills out. So think about when you're structuring those types of stories that you're not the hero, you're the person that helped your client achieve the outcome that they were looking for. The sentiment. So this is thinking about, you know, like with recently, with the passing of the Queen, you know, what did you learn about business from the way that she led? You know, so Angela Lansbury passed away this morning, and I loved Murder, She Wrote when I was a teenager. So, you know, thinking about, I could combine two of those. Here's 5 things that Jessica Fletcher taught me about business from Murder, She Wrote. You know, you can have some fun with it. One of my biggest clicked articles was, you know, the 10 things Doctor Who taught me about business, because I'm probably giving away too much information here, but I'm a complete geek when it comes to sci-fi and stuff. But, you know, thinking about those sentiment things, where are you connected? Again, it shows your community a little bit more about your own values, your own ethics, but it gives you an opportunity to share that bigger sentiment with your community as a way, you know, not dissimilar to a parable, where you can provide a lesson in something by connecting it to something bigger. And the last one is the contrarian post. So not for the sake of negativity, we're not talking about trolling, we're not talking about, you know, just... But if you have an opinion, if you actually hold an opinion that's different to a popular one, share it. It will spark, I guarantee you, it will spark conversation and it will spark interest. And people hold their views very highly. So it will encourage debate. So again, you know, with your community, you're setting the tone, if you're allowing free speech, if you're, you know, encouraging that type of thing, it's a great one for actually stirring the pot a little bit and starting to create that real sense of, you know, debate and learning. One of the communities I follow on Facebook is a lady by the name of Tracy DeMarco, and she is very, very clear with, you know, this page is about open debate. I won't tolerate trolling. I won't tolerate this. I won't tolerate that. But she has some amazingly deep and respectful debates going on, everything around, you know, Indigenous Day to alternate medicine to, you know, health and well-being, political, religious, all of the things that we would kind of normally go, oh, I'm not going to drop that out there. But her community will come in and will vigorously defend an opinion, but do so in a really respectful way where you can't help but learn something or get a deeper understanding by following those types of debates and those types of pages. So contrarian opinions are amazing for creating engagement on a community. Any questions around those ones? Excellent. All right.
It wasn't clear, Tracy. I think I'm just not registering the list, the 5 things through reason. I missed the point there. If you could talk about that.
So let's say for you, you might want to talk about the 3 things new migrants to Cairns need to know about Centrelink. The 5 things I've learned about Indigenous culture working with the Cairns community. You know, the 7 things that every Aboriginal teenager should know.
Okay, cool.
That type of thing. So it's just where it's, you know, I'll tell you where you see really good examples of these when you're flicking through websites and social media and hard magazines around fashion and cosmetics. So have a look at some of those. They're great at the list. You know, the top 5 spring outfits that you need in your wardrobe this season. You know, and then it'll kind of go through, here's the colors, here's the cuts, here's the whatever, and here's where you can get them, you know, those types of things. But yeah, we love a good list. Blogs is always a good one for a list. So, you know, the 5 things you need to know about digital marketing this year. The 3 social media platforms every small business owner needs to be on, that type of thing. Is that better? Is that helpful?
Yeah, thanks for that.
Excellent. All right. So we've got our 5 C's that we've been through, which is create, curate, commentate, celebrate, and commercialise. We've now overlaid them with our questions. So we're starting to really kind of get those layers happening. So now we're going to add in another lot of layers. So as the leader of your community, so remember we talked about why do you want to develop a community and are you willing to step up and lead it? People are going to be looking for you to show some depth and some vision. So you want to think about your content in the various layers that we've talked about. And now we're going to add in some time frames. So we've got our insect eye, right? Which is what, like we're down here now. This is what's happening to us right now. So insect eye for me would be yesterday sharing a post to say, hey, I've got a online workshop coming up about creating content that builds an online community tomorrow. Make sure that you register, there's still time. That's insect eye. It's happening right in the moment. You need to know about this right now. Bird's eye. So we're up a bit now. This is what's around the corner. So we're looking into the horizon a bit. This is what's happening within the kind of the next 6 months. So this will be the, you know, everybody's talking about what is it now? We're at a 40% chance of a global recession or something. So everybody's talking about there's a big chance that the world will be entering a recession in the next 4 months, right? Have you noticed that language? That's bird's eye. So they're talking about here's what's kind of just around the corner. It's not on us right now. You've still got some time to prepare for it, but it's just kind of out at arm's reach there. And then your alien eye stuff is that really big picture, what's happening in the next kind of, you know, 12 months, 24, 5 years. So goodness me, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I can talk 5 years in advance anymore because no one knows what's coming up around, you know, in the next 6 months, let alone 5 years. But that's your opportunity to be the thought leader. So Sue, here's what workplace culture is going to look like, in my opinion, in 2025. You know, what are the big changes we're going to see? That's your opportunity to kind of step up and go, this is what I'm seeing. Cecilia, this, you know, you could talk about the impacts of starting to increase migration again over the next 24 months. What should we really be thinking about? What do we need to be doing as a society to be taking better care of our Indigenous youth in the next 36 months? You know, here's what Cairns needs to be doing by 2025 to halve the numbers of Indigenous youth in detention. You know, it's your opportunity to kind of step up and go, look, I'm seeing this going on in the community. This is ridiculous. If we change these 3 things, or if we do this, it's going to cut those numbers by half in 2025. What have we got to do to step up and take care of our community? Any questions around the depth and the timelines? Oh, okay. All right. So what else do we need to consider? So we've got a lot. There's a lot going on now, right? We've done our 5 C's, we've got our questions, we've got our timeframes. That's a lot to kind of juggle around. So a few other things that we need to throw into the mix. We need to think about Google, particularly for our website, particularly for our blogs, not so much for our social media. So this is mainly what's our website content, what's our blogging, what's that type of thing look like. So Google, you are who Google says you are. So Google is looking for you to increase the number of visitors to your website. Dwell time is how long they're spending on your website, how many pages they're visiting while they're on their website, on your website. Where are you backlinking and who's backlinking to you? So what other sites are sharing a link back to your pages, or what websites are you linking out to say, hey, here's someone I think you should check out. They've got a good authority. And digital PR. What can you be doing to get your site or get your name on bigger platforms than you? So for me, you know, Koshi's, that's a big one. That's a big tick in the credibility box, according to small business owners. They love David Kosh. So by me appearing on that, that's a big tick in the digital PR. So thinking about, you know, how are we going to be bringing people to our website? How are we going to be getting them to spend more time? All that type of thing. So we need to be considering Google when we're creating content. The next one is keywords, and this links in with Google as well. But thinking about, you know, you need to keep on top of what are your keywords. So following sites like Google's Keyword Planner, you need to know what people are using to search for what you do. So what are your clients searching for to find you? What other sites are they looking at? What other sources of information? If you know those keywords, you can start using them in your social media, in your blogs, on your website, and that's going to help Google to put you in front of more searches. So then you start ticking those Google boxes as well and building your community. Because if people stumble across your blog or find a video or whatever, and they start to become more engaged in your community because they've come across something from a keyword or a search that they've looked for. Then we need to be thinking about different types of content. So just like kiddies, adults like different sorts of content. So not everybody likes to read. Not everybody wants to read an email or a blog or social media or a newsletter. Some people, you know, like auditory. They like to listen. They like podcasts. Some people like visual stuff. They like to watch a video, YouTube, Loom. Some people like to attend online workshops or go to something in person. They're kinesthetic learners. They need to, you know, touch and feel and think about how that all comes together. So again, remember, if we're going right back to the 5 C's, if we create a blog, think about how can you repurpose that? So how can you take that one blog and turn it into social media posts, to an infographic? Can you read the blog into camera and turn it into a video that you load up on YouTube? Can you take the audio out of the video that you've just created and turn it into an audio clip that you put on your website or send it out as a newsletter? Can you create your stuff as a meme, as a GIF? What about your list, your top 5 things? That can now become a checklist or a template. So think about, never waste a word. So if you're going to go to the effort of creating something from scratch, what else can you turn it into while you're there? So typically I'll say to people, you know, give me a blog and I'll give you at least 10 other pieces of content that you can share across your social medias or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. So be thinking about being smarter with your time, because we're also time poor. If we're going to create one piece of content while we're doing that, turn it into a bunch of other stuff that you can be using across your social medias and sharing as newsletters or on YouTube and things as well. All right, my challenge for you, because we're almost out of time, and then I'm going to take, you know, go into any questions that we've got, is to identify those 5 C's, know which one that you're comfortable in. So create, curate, commentate, celebrate, commercialize, and really make the effort to go outside of those 5 C's. And if you know you're good at the questions, if you know you're good at sharing something about what you've learned, find one of the others and use it and see how you go building your audience from there. But I want you to look back through what we've done and pick 1 or 2 things that you're going to use over the next 30 days to look towards building your own online community. That's me. So there's my website, there's my email. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm also on Facebook. So as I said, I will send you the slide deck if you would love to connect. I'd love to keep in touch and see where you're up to and what's going on. Also follow the YEP website. So I'll give you that in the link out. Well, actually, it'll come from the email from YEP email, which is my entrepreneurship facilitator role. We've got a bunch more workshops coming up online that are all free. They're government funded. So, you're welcome to join in any of those that you want. And, visit my website or drop me an email if you've got any questions. I would love to help you out where I can. So let me stop sharing and just check in with everyone. What has that generated for you? What questions have you got? What little light bulb moments? Who wants to share? We've got some people that have been very quiet, Belinda and Yasmin. Feel free to come off mute and ask anything that you want to know, or if you've got any questions, burning questions, non-burning questions, Sue, shoot.
Yeah, I think the other C's are sort of pretty easy. The one I find the hardest is to create something from scratch. So my question was going to be, I don't know how, is there any resources or books or anything that would help you do that, or is it sort of a talent, or is this an area where some people may outsource to VAs and then get them to, and then edit it, to sound more like your to reflect your sort of thoughts on that, and put it into your words. Is that what some people do when it comes to creating? Because as you know, I'm an NCS consultant, so I read a lot of Dr. Joe's blogs, but and so it's easy to sort of maybe curate or commentate on those. But when it comes to creating something from scratch, I'm really sort of stuck there, because I think, well, how do I better that? If that's what I'm reflecting.
And I think, let me just pick up on your language there. You don't need to better it.
No, yeah, sorry. I sort of recognise that I said that. I sort of mean match it, or,
because remember, they're following you because they're connecting and they're resonating with what you're saying. So
right.
There's many paths to the one answer, right? So, it's not that you've got to better or match Dr. Joe or anything, because what you take out of what Dr. Joe is saying might be the thing I need to hear, because it's the way that you've synthesized that and then put it out to the universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a blog. Maybe you're someone who's good at dictating and creating an audio file. Maybe you're someone who prefers to just finish reading an article and then talk about it to camera and pop it up on YouTube, or creating a slide deck. It doesn't always have to be a blog. But in saying that, yes, there are definitely content creators that will do that for you. You still need to give them the guts of what you want to say.
Yes, right. Or a topic at least.
Yeah. So you would need to give them, a couple of articles of Dr. Joe and say, I'm particularly taken. So curate the article for them.
Yes, right. Right.
And then when you work with a content creator, it's usually about 3 months for them to get your language.
Right. I see.
So what a good content creator will do is start to develop a glossary. So they'll go, Sue says, settle in with a cup of tea. This is going to be a long read. So they'll make notes of your language and they'll start to develop that over a period of time. So it is a bit of a, usually people kind of get frustrated and leave just as it's about to start doing something. So there is that. It's probably a lot more work to begin with to
Yes,
get that
right.
relationship right.
Yeah, sure.
In saying that, because of the way the media is going, there are a lot more freelance journalists available that will write
Yeah,
for
right.
you.
Yes.
And, you know, that's anywhere from kind of 50 cents a word through to flat fee. So, it, you know, jumping on, I'm trying to think of the VA websites and things like that. But if you jump on those, just make sure that, you know, they write to English UK.
Yeah.
You can see some samples of their work, you know, and you let them know the style. You read some examples, so you make sure that they write in the style that you like.
Right.
Conversational versus academic, or whatever that
Right.
looks like.
Would that be sites like Upwork and stuff like that?
Upwork, thank you. Yes.
Upwork, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go through and, you know, tick the various boxes, content writer,
Yes.
English UK,
Yeah.
conversational, all that type of thing, they usually have a few blogs pre-written. And I would put my personal thing is I put one blog out or one piece out to 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah.
And then I look at the way each of them write it and find the one that resonates the closest, and then I'll give them a couple of jobs and see.
So you would create a blog yourself and put it out to them?
I'd give them the guts of it. Like, here's what I want.
Yes, right.
I wanted about 500 words. You know, here's the big things I want you to hit, and then give it to a few different people and see what styles come back and what one resonates the closest with you.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Excellent. Thanks, Sue.
I got a question,
Yeah.
Tracy. So how often should we be posting per week?
Yep. Consistency is bigger than how often. So do it as often as you can do it to stay consistent. So if we're talking LinkedIn, ideally it's about 3 times a week. If we're talking Facebook and Instagram, you know, you could post every day or 5 times a week or whatever. But if you can only do it 3 times a week or twice a week, but you know you can be consistent, do that. Always start with something that you can over deliver on. So if you go, I think I could do 5 times a week, you know, set yourself a goal of 3 times a week, manage that for, you know, a month or 2, and then build up from there. But yeah, don't go and burn yourself out and then find that you don't post for 3 weeks, because that's you know, something that annoys your community as they start to develop Steely's posting great stuff. Oh, where's she gone? Oh, she's back. Oh, where's she gone? Where's she going? So, and use things like the planners, scheduling tools and things. So, you know, you're not having to think about where do I go in and I've got to write something today. When you've got a bit of time, you can go in and write a couple of posts and pre-schedule them to drop ahead of time.
Do you use Hootsuite for that? Is that
No, so I use one called Publer, Publer. They're all pretty much same, to be honest. The reason I chose Publer is because it's one of the only ones I've found that will allow me to write a follow-up comment for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, one of their big things is they don't like third-party links going in their posts. So, you know, here's a link to an article I read. You'll see on LinkedIn, it'll be article available in the comments. So when I schedule my LinkedIn posts, I schedule a comment which has the link to the article or whatever that I talk about. So that's why I use Publer. It's free for up to 5 platforms. So, you know, it would be free to use if you've got like
Publer
LinkedIn.
enables you to schedule in the comments. Is that
correct?
Right,
yeah.
right.
For LinkedIn, yep.
LinkedIn.
But if you're using Facebook and Instagram, Facebook have their own scheduling tool built in. And it's great because it tells you, you know, what time of the day your audience is most likely to see your stuff. So you just use what Facebook tell you to do, and it gives you the best shot of being seen by your audience. Yeah. I'm doing a workshop on Meta Business Suite, so using the scheduling tool inside Facebook in a few weeks' time. So you can check that one out on the Yep site and sign up for that if that's something that interests you. Yasmin, how you doing?
Hello, hi. Sorry about before. I was driving around and still trying to get onto the call at the right time.
All
I
good.
didn't
You
realise
did well.
I wasn't on mute. So
That's
sorry
okay.
about that.
That's okay.
I'm starting from scratch, and so I was more having a question on like where do we start? Where I'm pre-launch with a business that will be selling a product, and it's going to be just to give you some context. It's about personal safety. It's about an issue that is an ongoing problem, but I've created or being part of the creation of a new product, new technology that will then have a refreshed view on what's been an ongoing, problem. And I don't know how to start the conversation in the social media platforms to create a community and an audience and everything, because it's not the topic that people generally like to talk about or feel comfortable talking about. It's actually drink spiking.
Right. Yep.
So I've put a few posts on some Facebook groups that I'm a part of for like women in business and stuff like that, just for a little from polls and yes, no answers and things like that. And I haven't really had much response at all. Like people just don't want to
engage.
Discuss it. Yeah. Like when I'm chatting to someone face to face, and I say that I'm doing something about drink spiking, I've got a new technology, you can test your drink before you've ingested it, blah, blah, blah. People's, they light up, they tell me about whatever experience they've had, or if they know someone that's had an experience, they tell me how great it would be that, that I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. But online, I don't seem to be getting any kind of traction with engagement. It's like nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm just wondering, like, what you think about, like, where I could start. Should I be starting on LinkedIn and have more of a professional approach?
I'd be going after parents groups, to be honest.
So
I would be thinking, like, if I'm the parent of a teenager, it's one thing as a mature woman, even kind of, mid-20s or whatever, like we're kind of becoming more aware that is out there. But as parents of teenagers and things, creating little videos of like, hey, this is how you can start the discussion with your kids, or this is what they should be looking for, or this is how you can use my technology, and showing them how it works and what it looks like and all that kind of stuff. I think you're on the right train with starting inside of other communities. It's a great way to build your community, not by hijacking their stuff, but, inside parents groups, talking about what it is that you do. And then, hey, here's a link to, a video that I saw that is kind of frightening or good or whatever, that starts them down the pathway of following your stuff. I would also think that would be something that would be of big interest to the media. So I'd be reaching out directly to, the likes of Mamma Mia or some of the other parenting groups. There's a big, whereabouts are you based, Yasmin?
Adelaide.
So, even the parenting magazines and the big parenting kind of websites and stuff, I would be reaching out and give them an easy yes. Can I write, I'm developing this technology, can I write a blog for you to share on your website or something? Because when they've got a big community themselves, one of the things that they have to do is generate a lot of content. So if you can come along and be helpful, hey, can I, write a blog? Can I create a video? Can I do a something? It's typically
offering them like a few hundred words already created.
Yep.
Just give them space. What would be a good amount to be, so I'm saying I can offer you 300 words or something like that, or is that just too much or not enough? Or
no, so have a look at if it's a big enough website, you'll find that they'll often have guest contributor guidelines.
Okay.
And they'll tell you what they want. We're looking for article submissions around 350 words or 500 words or 750 words or whatever they want. Topics need to be conversational, whatever, they'll tell you. So I would just start by Googling, big parent websites or, that kind of thing, and start to follow some of the other communities and see what is creating engagement on their platforms.
Yeah. So there's a public awareness campaign that needs to happen for more mature adults, because people in their 30s, 40s and 50s don't seem to think that they're at risk for spiking, but they are. And incidences of that have increased significantly with online dating and post-COVID as well. So I need
dating
to get out there
communities as well then.
without scaring everyone. I don't want to scare everyone, but I just want to be informed.
My gut feel, and this is probably a deeper conversation, but my gut feel is not scaring, empowering.
Yeah.
There's that fine line of like, here's what you can do to protect yourself. Here's how, if you're out for a girls' night, here's how to, look out for your girlfriends. Here's how to look out for your best mate. Here's how to, that type of thing. But given what you said just about the online dating, I'd be looking at the online community, like the dating communities as well, even like your local communities and just sharing. So even festivals, like festival time, or, when there's concerts, local big concerts on, or someone's touring or whatever, just popping into that group like, hey, I don't know, someone was telling me Alex Lloyd was coming to town and wanted to know if I wanted to go and see him the other day. So like, hey, Alex Lloyd's playing at such and such a place, anyone in my community coming, love to see you. I'm going to have my tech here. And by the way, here's one big thing you can do to keep your friends safe while we're all enjoying the music, or, something like that. I'd be coming at it for more and empowering. I'd also be looking for partnerships, to be honest. So who else has a similar kind of audience? So it might be places like
I thought I could approach like Bumble or Hinge or something and be like, hi, you're getting in trouble for like not being safe enough for your users. Do you want to like throw some screens up there on the swipe to actually like show my product?
So they'll usually say no if they feel like it's a sell.
Yeah.
So
and that's how to approach.
You got to come at it from an easy yes. So, hey, you've been getting a lot of bad press about this. What if I could create some social tiles or some easy ways that people can stay safe out there? And it may not be that you're talking about your product at all. You're just raising awareness. And then after you've had that relationship a little while, then you can offer to like, hey, do you want to take a 10% cut on any of the technology that we sell through your website, an affiliate link type of thing?
But to do that, I probably need to have some kind of established
audience. Maybe not.
Already.
I mean, I'm happy if you want to book a quick call, to kind of spitball some. No, that's good. It's just, I probably need to think that over a little bit, but I'd also be thinking about who else are your clients, So thanks, Jane. It was lovely to see you. Thank you for turning up again. Like dating coaches, doctors, can you put some of your stuff around medical practices, and can you tell the local police force? Can you, would they post something on their social media platform? So
unfortunately they can't endorse any products, but they
can raise awareness. So again, it may not be about the product. It may be about the awareness, and once the awareness gets out there, people will start looking for solutions.
Youth programs and Headspace and various youth organisations would be in on that.
Yeah, I definitely want to get invited to schools to be able to do some more talks, because the drink spiking teaching that they're doing at schools these days is outdated.
Right. So then reaching out to the schools directly, the principals, the health coaches, all that kind of stuff. I'd be looking to develop partnerships and build your community that way. So thinking about who else has your people.
Well, that's a relief, because I'm not very au fait with this TikTok thing. So I can start in the ways that I'm more comfortable at the beginning.
100%. Yeah. And build your community in places that you're comfortable first, and then branch out as you get more eyeballs and more.
Were really helpful though, so I appreciate that.
Same. I was going to say the same. The engagement, the list of 6 engagements is super helpful, and I absolutely agree. Engage by asking a question. Questions are just superb. the right questions,
Yeah.
just the right questions.
And it's narrowing it down to the right questions,
Yeah,
and then you can tweak and refine them. And don't be frightened to re-ask the same question to see if the answers are still the same. You know, you could ask that question every quarter or every 6 months and see, you know, has the needle moved on what we want to know. Excellent. Any last questions? We have gone a little bit over, but that's okay. Thank you everyone for hanging around. Lovely
Thank you
to see
very
your
much,
smiling
Tracy.
faces.
Thank you,
Hope
Tracy.
to see
Very
you
helpful.
all on some other calls, and stay tuned. You'll get a copy of the recording. And if I can be of any help, please do reach out. Just connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, or drop me an email. And always happy to have a chat and see how I can help.
Thank you very much.
Have a good
Thanks, Sue,
afternoon.
again for the link.
Good on you, Sue. Thank you.
Bye.
I didn't think it would work,
Take care.
but it did.
It did.
Thanks, Tracy.
See you. Bye.